Alexander, a business travel manager, often stayed in cheap hotels. This time he had to spend the night in a small town lost on the map. The only available room he found was in an old hotel with a peeling sign that read Hotel North. The receptionist, an older woman with empty eyes and an unnatural smile, handed him a key with a faded 13 sign. "We don't have many guests," she said quietly. "You'll be safe in this room." Room 13 was on the 3rd floor, at the end of a dark corridor. The light bulbs were barely lit and the floor creaked underfoot. Alexander felt uncomfortable, but put it down to fatigue. When he opened the door, he saw an old, shabby room, a bed with a shabby bedspread, a closet that seemed to hide secrets, and a mirror hung too low. Despite the furnishings, the room was clean. "I'll make it through one night," Alexander muttered, throwing his bag on the bed. As he sat down at his desk to open his laptop, there was a sound. First a quiet whisper, like the wind outside the window, then something that sounded like knocking. Alexander froze, listening. The source of the sound was in the closet. Mice. He reassured himself and walked over to the closet. Opening it, he found it empty, but on the inside of the door was engraved a strange phrase, "Don't look in the mirror at night." Chuckling, Alexander closed the closet and decided to ignore the silly superstition. The night was quiet until 3 o'clock in the morning. At that time, Alexander woke up to a loud creaking sound. He slowly opened his eyes and saw that the mirror in the room was skewed, though he was sure it was hanging straight. From the depths of the mirrored surface, something stared back at him that words could not describe. The creature was not a shadow, not human, but something completely alien. He froze, trying to convince himself it was a dream, but the creature began to move. Its reflection began to emerge from the mirror. Alexander, clutching at the bedspread, could neither scream nor move. And at that moment, a quiet voice sounded. "You have looked. Now you are a guest." The light went out. The room was in total darkness. When the light suddenly returned, Alexander was not in his room. Everything had changed. The walls were cracked. The furniture looked decayed, and the air was damp and musty. However, the mirror was still hanging on the wall, its surface now covered with cracks, as if someone had tried to escape from inside. "What's going on?" Alexander whispered, trying to realize where he was. He went to the door, but it wouldn't budge. The lock was as cold as ice, and it was as if it was jammed shut. Alexander turned around, and his gaze fell on the mirror again. Now he noticed that his reflection did not follow his movements. "It's impossible," he muttered, backing away. In the reflection, Alexander saw himself, but his copy was behaving strangely, smiled, looked at him with a predatory look, and slowly raised his hand, pointing at the closet. The closet, which had looked old and dusty